Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be discussing the leaky gut solution. Well, first and foremost, remember that the information in this presentation is not intended to replace a one-on-one relationship with a qualified medical professional, and it is not intended as medical advice. The presentation is intended as a sharing of the knowledge and information from the research and experience of myself and the experts who have contributed to creating this presentation. I encourage you to make your own healthcare decisions based upon your research and in partnership with a qualified healthcare team. Well, first and foremost, a little bit about who I am and why I care so much about teaching people about how to heal themselves, and particularly with regards to this issue pertaining to leaky gut. I am an integrative wellness specialist, and I am healing-oriented healthcare provider who takes into account the whole person, body, mind, heart, and spirit, including all aspects of lifestyle. I emphasize the therapeutic relationship, and I embrace the use of appropriate therapies, both conventional and what we refer to as quote-unquote alternative. I teach strong, savvy, selfless people how to heal themselves, body, mind, heart, and soul, so that they can better serve the ones that they love from an empowered position of joy, health, and wealth. Now, the reason why I'm so passionate about this particular topic is because I was born with what's called Hirschsprung's disease, meaning that at birth, my bowels were not moving. And so when I was 3 days old, they actually operated on me and they removed the majority of my bowel. For the first year of my life, I lived with a colostomy bag. And when I was 1 year old, they reattached what was remaining of the colon to my rectum. Now, as you can imagine, that set me up for all kinds of health issues pertaining to the gut and many other issues that are based on gut concerns. And the thing that I realized over the years is that it is so essential to establish a healthy bowel. And what we refer to as leaky gut is something that is tremendously devastating for so many people. I cannot tell you how many people that I've spoken to that are practically eating cardboard because, they've developed so many different food sensitivities because of leaky gut that they've eliminated practically every food under the sun, and they are scared to eat. So that is why I'm so thrilled to be able to have this opportunity to share this time with you and to share with you a little bit of insights. And after this presentation, we'll have a discussion so that we can delve into any of your specific concerns. Now, the gut or the gastrointestinal system is truly a gateway to overall health. The gut microbiome is an ecosystem of organisms, including bacteria, yeast, fungi, viruses, protozoan throughout the digestive tract. Far beyond just the digestive health, the following organ systems are also closely related to the gut health: your immune system, the endocrine system, the nervous system, the circulatory system, the integumentary system, the respiratory system, the reproductive system. A few key points to consider are, number one, there are 10 times the amount of bacteria in our body than our own human DNA cells. And the majority of them are found within our digestive system. The gastrointestinal system contains 90% of the body's happy hormone serotonin. And most importantly, approximately 70% of our immune system is housed in our gut. As you can tell, gut health does not stop at digestion. The health of our gut affects nearly every system in the body. So now let's talk about this term, leaky gut. It is a term that refers to the intestinal hyperpermeability and has become an increasingly more common health problem seen today. Leaky gut causes major health problems, including autoimmunity. How, you may ask? Well, intestinal hyperpermeability is exactly what it sounds like. The digestive tract is no longer able to ensure that the good stays in and that the bad stays out. Instead, the tight junctions or the proteins holding the intestinal walls together are loosened. This leaves sizable gaps for undigested food particles, digestive fluids, and toxins to enter into the bloodstream. The body then reacts to these foreign particles in the gut by producing immune antibodies or pro-inflammatory cells to fight them off. This breeds chronic inflammation, food allergies, and various health complications. Of course, there are no signs of improvement until the gut's permeability is addressed. And this is why you have people who have eliminated different foods that they're sensitive to, and that does not resolve the issue. In fact, even when you when you remove the foods that you develop sensitivities to, if you do not address the underlying root cause, which is the leaky gut, all that's going to happen is that you're going to develop sensitivities to new foods. And so that is why I said that I've met so many people that I've worked with that they come to me and they're practically eating cardboard because they've developed sensitivities to practically everything else under the sun. Now, fortunately, we now have a better understanding of the causes, obstacles, and treatment methods for leaky gut. So there is a way to stop this cycle. Several factors have proved to negatively affect the gut's integrity. The most prominent include the standard American diet, exposure to chemicals, chronic infections, gluten and other grains, food allergies, excessive medications, and poorly managed stress. Now, this last one is one that many people overlook, but there is a significant correlation between how people interact with stressors in their life and how they perceive them as being stressful and the impact that that has on our gut health. So the standard American diet, rightfully known as the SAD diet, is one of the leading causes of chronic health issues that we see today. According to the 2009 study conducted by the USDA, 63% of the calories that Americans were consuming at that time came from processed foods containing preservatives, refined grains, and added sugars and oils. And that was back in 2009. I would dare to conjecture that the number, or should I say the percentage, is much higher at this time. It is almost as though the general public took it upon themselves to refigure the food pyramid to consist of grains at the bottom, dairy in the middle, and sugar on top, when in all honesty, none of these foods have any business being part of our diets at all. And when I say grains, I'm talking in this case to refined processed grains. And there are some people who have sensitivities to all grains. Now, you can call it what you want, food, frankenfoods, food-like substances. I call them consumables, fake food, but you most definitely can't call most of our so-called food supply real food. When the majority of our clients' diets are packaged meals with paragraph-long ingredient lists and labels that we can't understand or pronounce, we are not eating real food. A couple of alarming facts to consider. The United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has approved approximately 3,000 different food additives, preservatives, and colorings without adequate research on the safety. The average person ingests over 150 pounds of additives each year. The magnitude that these chemicals are allowed into our lives is incomprehensible. We are becoming more and more aware of the consequences of this fake so-called food lifestyle, and it is simply unacceptable. This is only one factor in the leaky gut epidemic, however, but definitely a big one. Up next, we're going to be discussing other factors responsible for the onset and progression of leaky gut. Now, inflammation is a vital immune response and is the body's attempt to defend itself against pathogens, heal from injury, and repair damaged tissue. Chronic inflammation, however, is not beneficial to our bodies in any way. In fact, it can weaken the body's ability to recognize foreign invaders and puts the body in a state of stress for extended periods of time. This can cause lasting damage, increased food allergies or food sensitivities, and eventually autoimmunity. This type of inflammation can be caused by a number of things, but largely seen as a result of leaky gut syndrome and poor dietary habits. If chronic inflammation goes untreated, leaky gut is worsened and the body ultimately loses its ability to repair from the damage. Now, gluten is the general term for a mix of proteins that are found in many grains such as wheat, barley, and rye. Gluten has found itself in much of our food supply, disguised in packaged foods and featured in most prepared dishes. It is no surprise that our consumption of gluten has increased immensely and our health is suffering from it. Gluten allergies, sensitivities, and intolerances are becoming increasingly more common. Quote unquote, gluten-free has become a buzzword within the health community, and people are finally beginning to explore how dangerous gluten can be for their health. Now, how dangerous is it, you may ask? Well, gluten makes your gut leaky. Simply that. Zonulin, a protein that is found in gluten, increases the permeability of the gut by further opening the spaces between the cells. The antibodies normally released as a result of leaky gut are accompanied by more antibodies created to attack one of the gluten's more prominent building blocks, which is gliadin. This leads more inflammation, more body confusion, and more health complications. In other words, your body reacts to the consumption of gluten by creating a defense mechanism to fight it because it perceives it as a dangerous invader. Once this damage has occurred within the digestive tract, it is then distributed throughout the entire body. Aside from contributing, if not entirely causing leaky gut, gluten increases inflammation, overall digestive distress, and it alters the balance of our microbiome. Now, our microbiome must be equipped with efficient, healthy bacteria in order to be successful in carrying out its necessary functions. Without the proper balance of bacteria, the following dysfunctions are disrupted: your digestion, your immune response, your nutrient absorption, hormone regulation, vitamin production, detoxification, mood management, and many more issues. Now, gluten produces both primary and secondary effects. The damage gluten causes that we have talked about thus far have mostly been primary effects, such as intestinal permeability, otherwise known as leaky gut, the permeability of the blood-brain barrier, which can lead to all sorts of mood imbalances, Alzheimer's, all kinds of things. The onset of autoimmune diseases such as celiac disease, Crohn's disease, and ulcerative colitis, and the development of psychological disorders, like I said, mood imbalances, anxiety, depression, dysbiosis or abnormal bacterial growth, acute allergic or what we refer to as IgE responses from the immune system, and a delayed antibody response. While all of these issues are very serious within themselves, they too cause further complications. So next we're going to look at the secondary effects of gluten. Some of the secondary effects of gluten exposure include things like severe nutrient deficiencies, such as iron and vitamin B12, systemic inflammation, leading to organ and tissue breakdown, such as arthritis and things of that nature. It may seem a bit redundant that we keep coming back to how your body acts on gluten, but it is one of the most important pieces of information that you can take from this session. Gluten is a major component of the leaky gut cycle. It is present in the onset, the maintenance, and the progression of this damaging condition, and it should not be taken lightly. As you can probably guess, gluten's path to disease is pretty direct. The first step is when gluten's contribution goes unnoticed. At this point, it is likely that there are little to no symptoms. This is where most people will assume that gluten won't hurt them and therefore can eat it with no problem. Unfortunately, the lack of apparent symptoms does not mean that gluten does not hurt your gut. In fact, it takes exposure over time and the accumulation of damage before leaky gut will even be noticeable. For those cutting out gluten before they feel any physical discomfort, they are still treating an underlying issue, even if they can't quite feel it yet. Now, much like the additives and preservatives flooding our food supply, pesticides are also a big part of what's on our plates. There are 3 million tons of pesticides used worldwide each year, and more than 16,000 chemicals involved in the production of these pesticides. Studies to ensure their safety on humans have been very limited, whereas some have no documented research at all. While we are not entirely sure of their safety on human health, we do recognize the strong links between pesticide exposure and nervous system disorders, immune system suppression, reproductive damage, hormonal imbalances, thyroid issues, type 2 diabetes, obesity, asthma, migraine headaches, attention disorders, and developmental delays in children. The magnitude that pesticides, along with steroids, hormones, antibiotics, and exotoxins show up in our food supply is truly frightening. And to think that it isn't a main component of our leaky gut trend is simply impossible. Now, the next part is medications. Medication is severely overprescribed in the current medical model used today. Medical programs train doctors to medicate symptoms even when they are unsure of the cause. This, in the short term, has seemed to work because the patients experience temporary relief from their discomfort. But what isn't taken into account is how these excessive prescriptions have affected our bodies. For example, statins, drugs that are used to lower cholesterol, have been shown to lower vitamin D and CoQ10 levels. While it may be lowering cholesterol, it is simultaneously causing nutrient deficiencies, muscle fatigue, increased blood pressure, and weakened immunity. And see, this is the irony of it all, because I know a lot of people that are taking these statins for cholesterol, and part of the reason why they're taking the statins for cholesterol is because they also have blood pressure issues. And their statins inadvertently increase blood pressure. So it's just crazy. Now, painkillers like ibuprofen, naproxen, and aspirin contribute to vitamin C and iron deficiencies, leaving one vulnerable to disease and at the same time eroding the mucosal lining of the stomach. Acid reduction medications hinder the digestion of proteins, calcium, vitamin B12, and often cause chronic pain problems. Long-term use of antidepressants too significantly impact the gut's motility and cause digestive issues. Lastly, it's important to note that almost all medications are unable to differentiate between the good bacteria in our gut and illness that it's trying to attack. That results in an altered microbiome and a much greater risk of infections. As you can tell, drugs offer a lot of unintended consequences that can affect our health very badly. There are very few situations where drugs should be your solution, such as life-threatening infection or surgical situation. Without the immediate emergency needs of medication, it is best to treat the issue than it is to temporarily patch the problem with the symptoms. Now, our gut has 5 critical elements or defenses that it truly needs for healthy gut function. In order from the outermost layer of defense, they include things like the mucosal IgA, otherwise known as immunoglobulin A. This antibody found in the mucous membranes is considered as your gut's first line of defense against toxins. Next come the tight junctions. These are the small proteins that are responsible for holding the gut cells together. This is what is most directly affected by leaky gut syndrome. Next comes the gastro-associated lymphoid tissue, what we refer to as GALT. This is the gut's concentrated immune system, and in fact, 70% of our immune system altogether. This is the gut's last and most powerful layer of defense. The gut's accessory defenses include things like friendly bacteria. As we mentioned, we have more bacteria in our body than we have actual human cells. This bacteria can communicate with the GALT, warning it of potential danger. And then there's also stomach acid. This is the absolutely essential aspect that is needed for digestion, absorption of nutrients, and the defense against infections. If there is any dysfunction throughout your gut's line of defense in any of these 5 barriers, you need to have this evaluated in order to heal and be treated properly. And again, this is why a lot of people who are dealing with leaky gut syndrome do not receive much benefit or long-standing benefit from a lot of the things that they're doing, because they haven't addressed all of the 5 different areas that are associated with gut health. Now, the first step of healing is ruling out the fundamental causes of leaky gut. It's important to recognize that it is very rarely only one cause, but usually a combination of several different things that are causing the damage. You must first rule out or begin to recognize the following: vitamin deficiencies. And I like to look for these deficiencies by using certain functional nutrition testing, such as an oat test. You can also need to rule out infectious pathogens by doing a blood and/or GI tract test. I like to use a comprehensive stool test to look for various pathogens that may be causing disruptions within the gut microbiome. Then you may also want to consider testing for heavy metal toxicity by using a urine and/or a hair analysis. I prefer the hair analysis with regards to this particular test. Next, we can look at gluten sensitivity that can be done through genetic testing, or you can use certain gluten antibody tests to determine whether or not you have gluten sensitivity. And last but not least, we can look for environmental allergies through skin or blood tests. If you have any questions about any of these, you can be sure to reach out to me. Now, if you have had any of these come back positive, you have to first address those deficiencies, implement the dietary changes, limit exposures to the allergens or the sensitivities, and consider detoxification methods. Once you have a better understanding of your body's unique needs, then you can begin the formal functional medicine protocol, which we refer to as the 5 R's. It used to be the 4 R's, but recently it has been expanded to be the functional 5R program. Now, the 5R program is administered to help you to heal from digestive distress, to reverse gut complications, and rebalance your gastrointestinal microbiome. It is an incredible tool to acknowledge and treat health issues, dysfunctions, imbalances, and personal health needs. It's done in the following order. First, remove. Eliminate the problem foods toxins, low-grade infections, and oxidative stress. Second step, repair. Begin reintroducing a clean diet with essential nutrients that your body needs. The third step, restore. Repopulate your gut with healthy bacteria to restore the proper balance of the gut flora. Next one, replace. Replace the digestive enzymes, the antioxidants, and the immune-boosting vitamins and nutrients that are needed to promote sustainable, healthy digestion. And last but not least, one that many people overlook is rebalance. Create resilience in your lifestyle habits for the body, mind, heart, and soul. Identify where imbalances were creating the disease in the first place. It could be a matter of stress management. It could be a matter of not sleeping. It could be a matter of worrying. It could be a matter of not feeding your spiritual self. So many different areas contribute to destroying the balance of the body, mind, heart, and spirit. And that creates an underlying swamp that would lead to things like a leaky gut. As functional practitioners, we are trained in this protocol and are enthusiastic about helping you to identify your individualized needs and to address those needs during a process that is comprehensive and effective. So at this point, you may have already removed things that you know were detrimental to your health, such as gluten and known sensitivity elements. But you'll also want to remove much of the chemical burden in your life. That includes things like pesticides on foods, genetically modified organisms, otherwise known as GMO, unnecessary medications, and unnatural household cleaners. Once you have an understanding of what should be removed from your daily life and you've begun to implement those changes, it's time to begin repairing the damage that has been done. This can be done by calming chronic inflammations, reintroducing nutritious foods, digestive enzymes, probiotics, essential fiber, vitamins, minerals, and acids. For some people, these steps may mean implementing intermittent fasting, supplementation, personalized diet plans that cater to your specific health needs. Again, I would love for you to reach out to me if you'd like to have assistance in this particular issue. Nutrients must be replaced for effective healing. While everyone's needs are highly individualized, here are some common supplements that have been proven to be helpful in the gut process: probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, fiber, collagen, turmeric, L-glutamine, quercetin. These are only suggestions. We are unable to give you specific recommendations without having a comprehensive testing to identify your bio-individual needs. However, the main takeaway from this is that you should not rely solely on supplements. They can be used to help your healing process, but the goal is to have a sustained wellness, comprehensive, holistic wellness with foods and healthy lifestyle choices for the long term, without the need for piles and piles of pills, whether it be supplements or medications. The most difficult part of health is maintaining it. Even if you build a strong foundation during the healing process, without proper diet, lifestyle choices, and stress management long-term, you can fall right back into the same gut-destroying patterns. Remember, health is a journey, not a destination. Now, although there's plenty of research on the dangers of leaky gut, it is still considered, to some, a medical mystery. Many cases go misdiagnosed and in turn not properly addressed. It is crucial to work with someone who's familiar with the condition and will perform the appropriate tests in order for you to heal effectively and efficiently. Always start with the fundamentals. That is why we have the policy of lab tests, not best guess. Always honor your body's unique needs and do not skip the underlying investigations. Skip over the guesswork and get to the root causes of the issue. I thank you for taking the time to experience this class. I love sharing with you on this topic. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to me.